Okay, this is the June 17th, 2014 meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. This meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission is hereby called to order under authority of MGL, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, the Town of Raleigh's Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the Stormwater Management and Erosion Control Bylaw. I now call the roll for attendance. Dave LaMonica. Here. Bob Garner. Here. Judy Keys is absent. Sam Strife. Here. Kurt Turner. Here. Doug Watson. Here. Chairing, and we have a quorum present, Mr. Chairman.
Ready? Let's see, we have to sign. We have to sign.
Yeah, there's a fair number of things. I didn't know if I had 19 Bradford Street down for 7:35. I didn't know if you wanted to take that since basically 7:35.
Yeah, we can do that, unless you have something that's real quick, like payroll or something.
I got numerous things that would not be
okay.
real quick.
That's fine, we'll hold them all to the end then. All right, so this is the 735 matter. Enforcement order 19 Bradford Street, map 15, parcel lot 34. Raleigh Veterans Association altering bordering vegetated wetlands and buffer zone by grading and earth removal. And I believe it's Mr. Edwards who is here on behalf of the Raleigh Veterans Association. Brent, you have some photos, and we did talk about this once before, so Brenda, if you want to just bring us up to speed. Thank you, Mr. Edwards, for joining us.
Oh, I just, well, yes, the commission had discussed this at the last meeting. Notice of violation letter was issued for what apparently was a volunteer project to remove some accumulated piles of fill at the rear of the parking area, at the back or rear of 19 Bradford Street, where the Raleigh Veterans Association is operating their VFW hall. And that inadvertently resulted in earth disturbance and disturbance of vegetation by grading in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, resulting in approximately 50 square feet of loose fill entering the bordering vegetated wetlands. This also is an area that's within the 100-foot buffer zone of the bank of a stream, which may be a perennial stream in the area. It stated that the previously altered area may have been a historic dump when filled prior to the Wetlands Protection Act coming into effect in the early to mid-1980s. There was numerous examples of chunks of asphalt and scattered other man-made debris. But it was a volunteer cleanup effort which just inadvertently disturbed an area that, once informed of the sensitive nature of the area, Mr. Edwards, as well as other members of the association, immediately pitched in to hand rake and pull back areas of disturbed soils which were not stable, that were about to fall in and could have eroded into the wetlands area. They then mulched the area. Subsequent to the commission's meeting on the 27th, the next morning Mr. Edwards and I got together and we went down to the site where they had spread wood chips, completed the hand raking to pull back the material that was in danger of eroding into the wetlands. And also the commission had, one of the commissioners, it may have been Commissioner Turner, offered the suggestion of the possibility of putting up signage at the rear of the property to alert folks to the existence of the wetland resource area there. I broached that topic with Mr. Edwards, and he was receptive to the possibility of establishing posts that would display the Do Not Disturb Protected Resource Area signs. And other than that, at this point in time, the area is stable. There hasn't been any erosion that I'm aware of into the wetland resource area, and they've mulched everything, and looks it looks good. I, of course, don't really know what it looked like before, but I'm told that it looks a lot better, so.
Yeah, no,
Well, there's no refrigerated doors left
No-
there.
no
There's no car
refrigerated
tires
doors.
left there, so.
no asphalt on.
What this was actually started up was a litter pickup,
Yep,
a trash pickup that just kind of expanded into
sure,
movement of a few unsightly piles of
right,
asphalt and dirt. There was
Right.
no intention of
sure,
anything else other than cleaning our property up.
yep, which is something we encourage. Certainly appreciate the quick response to the notice that there might be a problem. That's the sort of response we look for and really appreciate, so. Brent, it sounds like everything is back to condition we'd like it in.
Right. So
It's
I
better.
have presented.
Yeah, it's never gonna be perfect wetland, but it's been a long time since it was, so.
Well, it was actually in 19, from what I understand. From the 40s on, that's been a landfill, so
Right,
the stuff that was sticking up through, we found and excavated, mined out, so to speak, and
right.
it's a clean piece of property now, and it's much better looking than
Right.
it was 2 months ago.
So you think that these, the idea of putting some signs up around the edge might discourage people from dumping or inadvertently pushing things in there?
Well, no, I mean, no. That, my feeling with Brent was that, and his, what he conveyed to me was future management or might understand that don't go beyond these lines.
Yeah.
I mean, not that I know a swamp from a swamp. But if we did put up, I have no problem putting up a few of these signs so that future people know,
Mhm.
don't
Right,
go beyond this boundary.
yeah.
Simple enough. I mean,
Well, you know what it actually means is not exactly don't go beyond the boundary, but don't go beyond the boundary without discussing it
without
with us.
asking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just make sure that what you're doing makes sense from the wetland point of view, which everything you did to fix this is great, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I mean, this was not done under the cover of darkness. It was no
No, I know.
malfeasance. It was just a trash pickup, and I had 20 guys there and said,
Right.
let's go, let's do it. I mean, we had the Modern Woodmen of America, which is they're akin to like the Masons. They brought in 10 or 12 volunteers,
Okay.
and it was just, it expanded a little beyond what it was supposed to be, but in the end, it was a good project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We were doing the right thing, just didn't realize that it was in the wrong place, that's all.
Or
Right.
at the wrong time, whatever.
Right.
You know, I maybe, you know,
It's actually-
had I come to ask for permission, I'm sure you would have granted it.
Yep.
Um,
Basically.
But it was started with
Right.
pick up trash,
Right.
and then some things got moved around.
Yep.
Yeah.
But nothing was brought in,
Understood.
things were removed.
Right. Is there anything further we need to do on the enforcement order?
Well, it hasn't been voted on or confirmed, so I would like to suggest that the commission consider confirming it. And that then we simply, as soon as the signs are put up, that we issue a letter of a return to compliance, stating that
Makes sense.
things have been
Yeah.
done.
You probably get the signs up in the next 3 weeks.
If you want to hand me
Yep.
half a dozen of those things, 4 or 5, whatever you,
Well, I think from our talks, we talked about 5 of them.
all right, here's 2 to start, and,
Oh, no, there's 5 there.
oh, they really stick together.
Yes.
Okay. I'll,
Yeah. And you can put them on
Here
any
we go.
kind of posts that
Yeah,
suit you.
and I'll
You know,
space them on as Brent and I talked about, so that
Right,
future management down the road needs to know that,
right,
before you do something, ask.
right. Sounds
No
good.
problem at all.
Okay, so we need a vote to confirm the issuance of the enforcement order, and then when you have the posts up, just give Brent a call, he'll come by and check them, and then at our next meeting presumably, or as soon as you have it ready, we will vote to issue a letter of return to compliance, and that'll close it out for us.
All right, I'll have-
I would suggest you just include that
Do it all.
upon field verification.
Yeah,
that
sure, we can
You
do
have to
that.
issue
Okay.
a letter. and-
Sure, so a
We'll
vote
consider it
to
closed.
confirm the enforcement order and to issue a letter of return to compliance upon installation of the post.
I should have those up by the end of the week.
Sounds
And I'll-
good.
I have him in my phone, I'll give him a shout. And
Okay.
I don't need to come back for your
No.
issue of your letter of
If there's any
compliance.
issue at all, Brent will be in touch with you, but I'm sure there won't be. So, okay,
Second.
that's the second, the motion, is there?
Dave made the motion.
Oh, you made the motion. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? The motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Gentlemen, thank you. You'll hear from me by,
Okay.
you work 5 days a week, right?
No.
Not Friday.
Monday to Thursday.
You'll hear from me by Thursday.
It's okay.
I'll get it done. I want this,
I know.
I'll just get it done.
Okay.
Thank you, Brent. Thank you,
Thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good night.
Sam, is there no suit and tie because you got home from work in time for once?
Where's my coat? It's too hot to wear a tie.
You there, it's summertime.
No, I don't wear ties in the summer at these meetings. I know the air conditioning isn't good enough to justify it.
Plus, they're not in. This is the 7:45 item. This is a legal notice of the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40, as amended, and the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Public hearing will be held on Tuesday, June 17, 2014, at 7:45 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex, 39 Central Street. To consider a request to determine applicability application filed by James Prime for proposed soil evaluations for design of a subsurface sewage disposal system possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetland at 212 Haverhill Street, map 14 parcel or lot 1 in Raleigh.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I want to mention the fact that I've worked with the engineer on this project. Marty's worked for me. It's totally unrelated, there's no ongoing relationship, so I don't see a reason to recuse myself unless you say so.
No, I don't see any reason to unless anyone here feels that that represents conflict. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. So, let's see, you're here on,
Mr. Dalzell is here
Good evening,
representing
gentlemen.
Mr.
yes. on
I
behalf-
came here for
Right.
Mr. Prime.
Okay, yeah.
What I'd like to do is get 2 test beds for soil test.
Yep.
So we can get a septic plan designed,
Right.
then come back again.
So the 2 test pits, did you see Brent's memo?
I just handed it
Okay.
to him, so I'm not sure if he's had
Go
an
ahead.
opportunity to review it.
So both of these test pits are in the previously developed area, am I following correctly?
Yeah, they're the pink highlighted areas. They have shown erosion control, but in my opinion, because of the almost total lack of perceptible
Upgrade.
slope on the property and the fact that there's a fairly large expanse of lawn here because the delineation goes into the lawn area, which I was trying to probably not express too well in the photographs. But in some cases, the wetland flags are 20 feet up into the lawn area. Now, I wasn't presented any of the field delineation sheets from the Department of Environmental Protection recommends for utilization. And it's not really so critical in this particular aspect of it. So in one sense, I'm kind of hedging, even though when the applicant filed the RDA, I'm not sure that Mr. Dufresne actually filled the request out correctly, because he, usually for soil evaluations, I'll back up, usually for soil evaluations, there's under determination, there's 4 different requests. 2 of the requests, C and D, specifically refer to whether work depicted on the plans is subject to the Wetlands Protection Act, and D, whether the area work depicted on the plans is subject to the jurisdiction of the Wetlands Ordinance or bylaw of the municipality. Those are the 2 things that a project, an activity of actually doing something Those are the two determinations that are usually checked on the plan.
Yeah.
The first two, A and B, A says whether the area on the plan is an area subject to jurisdiction of the Wetlands Protection Act, the state law, and B says whether the boundaries of the resource area depicted on the plans or maps below are accurately delineated. And B was checked, the boundary of the area. In this case, I think the boundary may come more into play when it comes time to actually design and site the system, because then the state law's minimum is a 50-foot distance from the edge of bordering vegetated wetlands, and in the town's regulations are 100 feet, but on replacement system and previously developed property, I think they just like to see the state minimum of 50 feet if possible. So at this point in time, doing the soil evaluations, I'm not sure focusing on the boundary is really, I mean, you really want permission to do the activity, to do the soil evaluations, to dig the holes. I'd really like to see the delineation sheets and check the delineation before I ask the commission to confirm that boundary.
I think that's a good idea.
I mean, because I don't want to hamstring your work effort out there in the design process. I'm not saying that that isn't a good boundary. I'm just saying I'd rather a little opportunity to check it more thoroughly once you find out if you can place a design there.
Do you remember where the shed is?
Yeah.
That's where I would like to take 2 test beds.
Oh, right, yeah. Yeah, here again, we've got that,
Yeah.
we've got that,
And I think
that
that's
was
fine.
marked on the plan
Yes,
that
I want
Mr.
to say
Dufresne gave to us. I'm just saying, I'd rather not fix this boundary line
Oh, I
in
understand.
this hearing.
Right.
I'd rather wait until,
Okay.
because if you do need to put in a system, you're within the 100-foot buffer zone no matter what, because the 100-foot buffer zone goes anywhere from 40 to 50 feet on,
I understand.
so,
Okay. So we
I just don't
wouldn't
wanna-
necessarily do that anyway, so, but the test pits, it seems to me, are clearly in the best possible locations you could choose. I mean, I don't have much else choice here, I can see. And your feeling is that even though they do show an erosion control, there's probably not a need for it unless you've got a storm coming, unless you've got disturbed
right,
soil,
which I tried to
when there's
state,
water coming.
yeah, which I tried to state on the,
Okay.
yeah, because again, open, clear, developed lawn,
Right.
shouldn't be any problem doing those 2 test holes on the same day and backfilling them.
Only open an hour.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
so,
Easy access right next to the driveway.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense to me. So don't put in the erosion control unless you need it.
All right.
I mean, but it's good it's shown, I mean,
Yeah,
again,
no,
it's a good practice to be
Yeah.
precautionary and to prepare for the worst, but I don't want to have more money spent putting in erosion control for a
Right.
project that, you know, I'd rather wait until it comes time to put the system in
Thank you.
and worry about it then.
And Mr. Dalzell, did you look on the other side of that memo there and see those 6 standard conditions?
No, I didn't.
Just take a quick look, see.
Well, and here again, the request to have a spill containment kit available is because within the forested wetlands,
Right.
there is a stream in there, so there is a water course that may not exactly be close by, but there's a water course there, and our normal, again, precautionary procedure is to request that a spill containment kit be available in case there is some kind of accident.
Right. And then 3, 4, and 6 are really only if there is erosion control installed.
Right.
They wouldn't apply if there is none.
It's funny.
All right, any questions by commissioners?
Yeah, I'm a little confused as to what you're recommending, Brent. Can we wrap this up tonight, subject to your confirmation of this wetland boundary you're concerned about?
I would suggest that we don't through this process.
Oh, what difference does it make?
I
If either the
thought,
boundary is further inland or it's further back, in any event, we're going to approve it.
He hasn't had the chance to check it.
I know that.
So they
I'm-
didn't-
I'm
they
saying
didn't-
I'm not sure it's relevant.
Well, I thought I explained, it is relevant because it's entirely possible that their design of the septic system is going to have to achieve a 50-foot offset from the edge of bordering vegetated wetlands. So therefore, at this point in time, where I haven't been given the delineation sheets and I haven't checked there, I would prefer not to introduce another criteria that might cause a problem with the design of the system. I'd rather wait till we get to that point where they've looked at the soils, and if they found that there is an issue, that they have to get as close to the line as possible. Again, I'm just trying not to interject more complexity into the siting of this replacement system. I don't know, maybe the local Board of Health can they waive the variance of the 50-foot, the state 50-foot? Can they issue a variance that you can put the system closer than 50 feet to the edge of bordering vegetated wetlands?
That's this board's call.
No, the Board of Health. They're
Then you-
the ones that have the requirement for,
I understand that, but then they would be overstepping their bounds.
well, I was looking at your experience with the Board of Health. I don't have a lot of experience with them and how they,
The lot lines
Situate.
on site is supposed to be 30, but existing homes, excuse me,
Yeah, right.
can go to 10.
okay.
So,
Yeah.
in other words, to keep it as far away
Right,
from wets as possible.
all right,
Looks to me like the system would be long and narrow.
okay.
That's
In other words, sort of right in the same line where the driveway is currently.
exactly.
Still, if the soil's too different, it could shift it away.
Well, yeah, that's why you do test pits.
Right,
So I
right.
think your precaution.
But I think what Brent's saying
Smart.
is, we don't want to confirm the line and then have that create a problem for us,
Right,
Right,
because you have to move where the
right.
septic system's going.
It's a
Since we don't
precaution,
really
basically.
have enough information to affirm the line
Right.
anyway.
right.
Maybe the line doesn't even belong there, maybe
Right.
it belongs over a ways.
Exactly.
Well, and again, that's why normally we don't get involved with this during the soil evaluation test pit phase. We normally don't get involved with setting the wetlands line as a legal boundary
Right.
at this phase in any type of project.
This is the property that we do the best we can with what we have.
Well, that's right.
Right,
I mean, you're right, of course, Kurt, we're gonna permit something, because it's a replacement system. We have to, we're gonna have to fit it in as best we can. But we want you to have as few problems with Board of Health as possible, for example.
right.
Is this 50-foot setback a WPA setback or a Board of Health setback?
State, it's a state.
The 50-foot setback from the wetlands is a state WPA. The Board of Health setback, 30 feet is
Right.
state or local?
State's 10.
State's 10, so we say 30, but 10 if it's an existing dwelling.
Right.
I guess
But that's for the positioning of a system, and at this point in
Right.
time, we actually don't have a plan with a system
Right,
being
right.
positioned here, so.
I think what I was suggesting was that we delegate to you the authority to check that line, and if everything's okay with this 50 feet, then you go ahead and you can vote such that, it's concluded. I'm just trying to avoid a second meeting.
Well, there's-
For the purposes of the test pits, the boundary is probably adequate for tonight's discussion, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And what you're saying is, once we get into the design phase, then it will need to be
Then if
confirmed.
the delineation of the BBW boundary becomes an issue, I will have an opportunity to
Right.
check it more thoroughly, get the data sheets from their wetland scientists who did this delineation, and be able to look into it more thoroughly. But it's usually a criteria that is something you look at when you're looking at the placement of the actual system,
Would that
not at
require,
this phase.
I'm sorry, would that require another meeting? Or could that be done?
Right, but you have to understand, they will more than likely need another permit from us to
Right.
put the system in,
That's
because
it.
the
That's
entire
exactly where I'm
lot is
going.
within the
Yep.
100-foot buffer zone. So,
So, right.
Understood.
And I think Mr. Dalzell anticipates coming back. That's- So,
So,
and also, once we get a look at what their proposal is, I was going to consult with the chair and vice chair prior to them submitting an application to try and feel out whether it would just be another request to determine applicability application, or whether
As opposed to-
we'd need a notice of intent. If it's entirely within the previously developed lawn area,
right.
and we're just looking at a mound with some erosion control, as in the past, the commission has looked at that as just an RDA
Yeah, yeah.
type application.
Well, that would be the goal. That's what we're hoping for.
so clarify again for me, I'm sorry, I'm appearing to be very stupid tonight. Are we saying he can't do the test pits until our next
No,
meeting?
no, 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 no,
That's what I'm
no.
saying.
No, we're trying to approve the test pits without definitively setting the BVW boundary at this point.
Right.
And we're saying that's okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, any other interesting discussion now? Any other comments by commissioners? So I would need a motion to close the hearing and issue a negative determination option number 3 with the conditions stated in the memorandum, 6 in number. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all against?
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Can you wait a moment?
Wait a moment, you can walk out with signatures.
It would be okay if you delivered the permit?
Oh, sure.
Well,
Not doing the E's and I's on the signature, correct? I think.
Is that a sign of
Old age.
what is it, please?
may I take a moment?
Yeah, please. Suit, tie, and coat.
All right.
You probably thought the air conditioning was in.
I have to believe in another couple of days, the days will be getting shorter already. Start getting shorter.
Although, interesting, the sun goes down later for another 10 or 15 days, even though the days are getting shorter. That's something I didn't know until this
I'm
year.
okay with that.
Yeah, I am too. I think it's great, but I didn't know it was true until this year, when I read it somewhere. I
Oh, really?
just always assumed that they contracted and expanded it both ends.
I always thought that.
I always prefer to take my vacation in June or early July because
Thank you very
it's
much.
working a week, you get 8 additional hours of daylight, an extra day over taking a vacation in late August.
Gentlemen, thank you again.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See you.
I know.
Still, I could have mentioned the fact that he's done work for me also, but I figure he's done work for everybody in town, so.
Yeah.
He's work from the father.
Right.
Exception to it.
This is the 8 o'clock item. This is a legal notice for the Raleigh Conservation Commission in accordance with the Wetland Protection Act, General Laws 131, Section 40, as amended in the Town of Raleigh Wetlands Protection Bylaw. The public hearing will be held on Tuesday, June 17th, 2014 at 8 p.m. at the Town Hall Annex. 39 Central Street to consider a request to determine applicability application filed by Cynthia Sincata, sorry if I didn't say that right,
You're good.
for proposed soil evaluations for design of a subsurface sewage disposal system, possibly within the 100-foot buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands at 814 Haverhill Street, map 5, parcel or lot 24 in Rowley. And welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Chris Sparagis. I'm an engineer with offices at the Engineering and Survey Office of Williams and Sparagis in Middleton, Massachusetts.
Okay.
And with us here this evening, the applicant, Ms. Cynthia Sincata, who's also one of the owners, along with Dorothy Seberg. Thank you. And we're here tonight in our continuing effort to help these folks with a septic system repair. After doing some initial investigating of the property, which is shown in the pink triangular shape with a hook, it almost looks like a beak of a bird, right?
Right.
It's kind of an odd-shaped property located at 814 Haverhill Street. It's on the south side of Haverhill Street at the intersection of Boxford Road, right on 133. The existing single-family home is a three-bedroom home with an existing leaching field which is in failure. There was a recent Title V inspection that identified a failure, and so we're trying to help these folks with a repair. After conducting a site visit and realizing that there appeared to be some wetland resources within the 100 feet of the backyard area, we hired Steve Erickson of Norse Environmental to come out and hang some wetland flags for us. They happen to be on the abutting property. This is the wetland that was flagged. We've identified it through Mr. Erickson's help as an isolated local wetland. There's an open body of water within this isolated area, and you can see that we've drawn the 100-foot buffer zone, which is shown as this orange line. We've identified two proposed test hole locations where we'd like to excavate to see if we have suitable soils to support the repair. One behind the home at the far eastern side of the lot, and then one directly behind the main part of the house located here. There's test hole locations that are proposed are shown in blue. As is the custom here in Raleigh, when test holes are proposed within the buffer zone, the recommendation is to file a request for determination of applicability.
Right.
And so that's what brings us here this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. So, the obvious question, and Brent, have you seen Brent's memo?
I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
read it before I came in, thank
Okay.
you.
The obvious question that the map poses is a lot of the features shown seem to be on the adjoining property. So, I guess my concerns, and they don't really affect the test holes, but I think they may affect your construction, is are you going to have room without encroaching on the other property to build the desired structures when you get to the design stage?
So in short, our answer is yes, that's going to be our mission, to have this repair septic system in whatever configuration that we can come up with that complies with Title V and Raleigh's local rules and regulations governing subsurface sewage disposal. And what we're envisioning is probably a couple of long trenches, something that we can keep far enough away from the foundation of the home. The part of the home that sticks out in the back is only a slab on grade, and so setbacks to that shouldn't be too critical. Similarly, we'll try to maintain as much distance from the rear property line as we can with the septic system, but that's our goal, is to keep it on the lot. Anything else would be too complicated to consider, I think.
Right. Have you had any contact with the abutter on this subject or anything about this?
I don't believe we have.
You contacted the abutter to get permission to do the wetland survey.
Okay. Yeah, we did the first thing.
Yeah.
As a sort of trying to be proactive, having those discussions with them before you need to make permanent encroachments on their property might be the way to go, before you get yourself boxed into a corner. But that's up to you. It's not, doesn't really affect our decision-making, except that we can't really permit anything that's on someone else's property unless you have pretty clear legal authority to do it from the butter. So, I mean, I'm certain you understand what I'm getting at. If you keep it all on your property, it doesn't matter. But, anything you want to add, Brent?
Well, actually, I didn't focus on it in the memo, but I need to call the commission's attention to the fact that during the site visit, it was noted that that not only had landscaping, outbuildings, et cetera, strayed across the property boundary onto the abutting parcel, there was an area which exhibited cut tree stumps. These cut tree stumps, there we go. In an area approximating 500 square feet, or roughly 20 by 25 foot area, with a guesstimate, because I didn't clearly measure it, because I didn't have permission to enter onto the abutting property, so therefore I just had to do a visual approximation here that it appeared that 90% of the cut stumps were located on the abutting parcel. All of them, well, actually, excuse me, a majority of them were in the buffer zone, but there were some that were actually in the area that had been flagged as the isolated vegetated wetlands. Both areas are a resource area under our bylaw.
So I'm assuming they're over here by the stockade fence is where the trees were cut down in this
Yeah,
section.
I guess there's no reason why I can't draw on this. So where the boundary line is, the area of cut trees was approximately like that, going right through the flagging. There's one of these photographs
The flag's right there.
that clearly shows you the flags, a flag there.
Oh, yeah.
This is against a stump. There's other stumps hidden there. It happened a little while ago. So basically, this area in this notch going over to there exhibits a severe change from mature tree canopy to no trees, and just herbaceous vegetation with some stumps that are starting to sprout, indicating that the tree cutting was probably within the last 1 or 2 years, based on the fact that there isn't big sucker growth coming off of the stumps. Now again, there's relatively a minor wedge that is actually on what is now depicted where their boundary line is. At this phase in the project, I don't know. I just wanted to alert the commission to it. At this phase of the project, I didn't know how you wish me to proceed. Obviously, the property owners who are advancing this application, we had a discussion on the site with Ms. Sincola. I haven't sent any communication at all to 10 Boxford Road LLC, but the commission may want to contemplate the possibility of some 1 or 2 saplings being replanted, but again, most of the clearing activity occurred on 10 Boxford LLC's property. So really there would have to be some type of permission if one was going to wish for a discussion about the possible planting of some saplings to try and reestablish that woody vertical component of the plant community that got removed, if that's the commission's desire. Since it's hard to say whether they'll be back in here with the design of the system. I guess it's entirely possible that you would, based on the configuration of the property, but I would have to defer to your engineering expertise to say if outside the 100-foot buffer zone, would you be able to put in a total, a fully functional subsurface sewage disposal system to service the bedrooms in that dwelling with whatever flows, or would some of the work be back within our jurisdiction?
Right, so
later
just
on?
just based on the location of the shed, which is in the rear of the property here. And when you take a look at the shape of the approximate existing septic system and thinking that it's going to be probably around the same size, I think it's going to be difficult to keep it completely out of the buffer zone.
Right.
We're going to try, but
Yep.
just based on that shape alone,
Right.
it's telling me no.
There's just very little room there.
Right.
And that's even assuming that's the test pit that you choose.
Right.
So likely we are going to see you again.
Yeah.
Not certain, but likely.
And certainly, the commission doesn't have to. The commission can take appropriate action based on if they feel that there is a violation. They don't have to incorporate it into a project. My
Right.
advice, though, is normally that it would probably work better to be able to incorporate it within the project and not get another issue going that's on a separate track. But I defer to the commission's desires on how to proceed.
And we discussed this, Mr. Chairman, with the owners after the site visit
Right.
with Mr. Baselak, and planting a couple of saplings similar to what Mr. Baselak's suggestion was would be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, you're going to have to obviously approach the owners and have a heart-to-heart talk with them about how the situation arose and how you would like to propose resolving it with us and with them. I don't think, my feeling is there's no need for us to take any action about that at this point, because I think it would not be the best way to start that discussion is to get an enforcement order from us.
Right.
So I think we won't do that. But I think the next time we see you, we're going to have some answers on that. And it would be very helpful if you and the abutters are all on the same page on that.
That's a good idea.
And maybe you may wish to have Mr. Erickson, if you have a mutually beneficial discussion with 10 Boxford Road LLC, you may wish to encourage or have Mr. Erickson propose a small replanting plan addressing putting some woody stem shrubs and a couple of trees at an appropriate stocking density to try. I mean, obviously, we can't replace the diameter and the caliper and the height of what was there, but the commission is usually amenable to seeing some type of vertical woody stem component returned to the plant community where that layer has been totally taken away.
Right. Yeah, I think Mr. Erickson can help you with that.
Where is the existing septic system?
So on this plan that we've prepared here, it's the area that's highlighted in yellow. It's approximately 15 by 35.
Yeah, my black and white plan didn't come out too well. I just had the PDFs.
The one that says approximate leaching field?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So that's where the new leaching
That's
field
where
will
the old
go?
one is.
That's where the existing one is approximately.
But that's half on the wrong
That's half
property,
on
so that can't go there. I mean, unless, of course.
I highlighted in
permission,
pink
but-
where the proposed soil evaluation
Right.
areas are, so
We'd like-
you would anticipate that those are probably also where the system might be put in, since there's not a lot of other places.
What's the purpose of a sump pump along the dotted line?
That goes, I think that line goes up into here. That's a good question. I couldn't really, is the sump pump inside the dwelling? Is that for the dwelling?
Ms. Sincata, there is,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's 3 sump pumps in the building.
Okay.
That's where it's daylight, where it daylights?
No, I think that's just where they put the legend for it, the description.
that's the location of the discharge,
Oh, it is, okay.
where the arrow is pointing.
Which again is on someone else's property. Is that correct?
Oh, I see the arrow.
Based on the information that we have put together so far for the property line, that's, it's clearly discharging on the abutting property.
Right.
Maybe you could buy a piece from that guy, the owner.
Well, that's a thought.
Bring all that into compliance.
Or at least get his permission. I mean, is that property improved? Is there a house on it?
It's actually a condominium development, or, I beg your pardon, it may be an apartment complex,
Okay.
an apartment complex.
Yeah, when you start down Boxford Road,
Right.
there's a roadway to the left, you're going south heading towards.
There's a lot of
Ipswich,
woods
so-
between this property and the actual improvements on that property.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Right, it's very far.
So it
you can't really
might not
see
be
it.
that big a deal to them at all. They've already improved the property, they're done with that. This isn't the part that they're using. It might be kind of an easy negotiation to work your way through.
We'll definitely broach the subject.
Yeah. So it's currently owned by a condominium association?
I don't
That's what-
believe it's a condominium association. I believe it's an apartment complex, so
Oh, okay.
they're rentals, and it's
So
one
so it's a
owner.
development company
That's
of
right.
some kind? Yeah,
Is it permissible, Brent, to put a sump pump discharge into your septic system?
okay. I think not.
No.
Into the
No,
septic
that I know
system?
of.
No, it's not.
It'll create all sorts of havoc.
Not that people don't do it.
Yeah.
It's supposed to.
The hose down the white street.
So it's also.
Well, with respect to the application today, any commissioners have any comments? It's just limited to the test hole locations, and they seem like almost the only two choices, pretty darn close.
Now, I did make one correction to the memo. I realized that when I first sent it out, I had used the same verbiage I used with the other prior application where their plan showed erosion control. So I did change and inserted on condition number 3, I removed as depicted on plan and inserted as field determined. But still, because of the level nature of the property, the fact that landscaping and outbuildings are in the way, I hope the commission would feel as comfortable as I am by not having erosion control installed.
Sure.
Only if it's needed, if they get caught in a torrential downpour or something else. But more than likely, the work should be taken care of in one day, and as long as the holes are correctly backfilled and then just mulched or
Although,
hay or something.
access for these test holes isn't going to be the simplest thing either, is it? Or
They
the
might have one of
construction.
those small little
Oh,
pagodas.
there is
shoveled
the driveway's on this side of the property.
Oh, it is.
And we have the ability to just come around the side of the home.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's not shown here. I guess it must be. That's right, where else could it be? Okay, so that's not so bad. So typically, we would, our experience is these test holes are dug and filled in the same day. So unless there is a big storm coming, I think there's no need to install erosion control unless you see a
Just
reason
don't
that
dig
there's
the
going
hole
to be
that
erosion.
day.
Just, yeah, better to just wait in that case. Right? Don't dig the hole in the downpour.
Right.
Any other comments about the narrow issue that's before us, which is just the test holes? Anything else you want to add, Brett? Anything else? So I would need a motion to,
This is a positive with options number 5 and 6.
yes, right. So to close the hearing and issue a positive determination, option number 5 and 6, with the stated 6 conditions as related in the memo. So that motion?
So moved.
And second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And all against? Motion carries. Okay,
Thank you very much.
so we'll probably see you soon, unless you can work your magic with engineering.
We'll see what we can come up with.
Yeah, all right.
All right,
Okay.
thank you so much.
All right.
Please delay your exit.
Sure.
Visualize that building. I guess I've just never looked to the left as I turned down Boxford Road. I don't know what's there. Can't think
Oh,
what
the
it looks like.
little pond there.
Well, either the pond or the apartment building, and that's not.
The apartments?
Well, you would not see the apartment
You don't see
buildings.
the
They are
apartments.
Oh,
They're
okay.
in.
down a
Yeah.
short,
Yeah.
what looks like a driveway, but it's basically the
that's
road to
Yeah.
go into.
Why I've never noticed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have to drive in there. Yeah. I hope everybody on the board realizes that that building, as this building, used to be a school. That was the West End School.
Is that right?
Yes.
The building we're looking at?
Bellwood School, built in 1869.
Your house?
Yep.
Really? Well, that accounts for the strange shape of the lot. the town just took what it had.
Very strange shape of the lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of triangular almost over to Boxford Road.
You have a star sign out there? Debbie?
We do. Yep, it's on the house. We didn't realize it was an antique until 133 was done over. And I guess the state had to determine which houses were of historical value, and that's when we found out about ours.
Looking at the intersection with Boxford Road, I always figured that, back in the day, and that's one of the oldest roads in town, it must have just been an intersection, and that they added the curves and everything at some point.
Yeah.
And maybe that helps account for why it's curved off at the end, is they just took some land, the state took some land to do that.
They did, that was a taking, that kind of screwed things up a little bit.
Right, because it's that big wide intersection.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
They didn't make them like that in 1740 or whatever they laid it out.
Yeah.
And there's a, right here.
Is that one of the residents that sued the state on that road? When they're redoing 133?
Good question.
I don't think
know.
The state, not that I know of.
Chairman of the planning board, Fred, what's his name? Anyone? Maybe that's Leslie.
Okay. That's all we need for Wendy then, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Got all that down.
Fred. He's the chairman of the planning board.
I remember my last name, how very someone else.
It's right down the street from you.
Oh, yeah,
Curtin.
that's the difference.
I'm Curtin. That's the problem.
So we don't know if that's a vernal pool or not.
Excuse me.
No,
It's
we
not.
don't. I doubt it is. Well, I doubt it is only because, since it has no inlet or outlet, and we've got Boxford Road coming in with that triangular intersection and Haverhill Street right there, I would suspect that it gets an inordinate contribution of roadway salt and runoff from the roadway, which probably doesn't make the water quality the best in the world. But I am speculating. I've never taken any samples. I didn't see any signs that there were any activities. In fact, I saw that, well, you can see from the picture that I had, that actually it seemed like it had shrunk a bit, even though I don't think we're really in a drought situation. You can see a lot
Yep.
of bare mud exposed. The
Right,
water
that's why I
level's
was-
definitely gone down.
Right,
so.
because there is no way for it to escape. There is nothing that gets, no inlet, so to speak. And it probably does dry up.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Does it, do you think?
I've
You
never
know,
found it. I've
usually
seen
when
it
I go
wet.
by there,
but
it
I've-
usually always has some
Yeah.
water in it.
Yeah.
Because the shape of it is such that water would always tend to.
Yeah, always accumulate
Two
there,
roads.
as well as their
Two
sump
roads of
pump issue kind
confluence
of
right
tells
there.
you that there's high groundwater there, so I think,
Yeah, right.
I think groundwater nurtures that area continuously throughout the year, so. And I don't know, it may actually be jurisdictional under the Wetlands Protection Act. It may contain enough water to be, isolated land subject to flooding, but
Like the water itself.
but again, most of it's on the abutting property,
Yeah.
and for purposes of them putting in a subsurface sewage disposal system, I couldn't see
Bringing it
pressing
up.
the issue to
Yeah.
try and get them to do an engineering study to figure out
No.
whether
I
it
just
holds a
wondered.
quarter acre foot of water or not.
Because again, we're going to have to approve something somehow.
And a
Well,
Well,
function,
that's, it's going to be
That would
tricky.
just muddy things up.
and a
His
functioning,
work cut out for
a
him.
functioning,
Exactly.
Doesn't he?
Yeah.
If he
functioning
can't
sewage
get
disposal
permission
system
from
is always a good thing.
He's gonna have to come up with some kind of innovative system, I think, to treat that.
Or
sewage and
permission
that
from the abutter to just
Oh,
encroach,
Waterloo.
which would fix it.
That too,
That would be
that's
easy.
another option.
A Waterloo treatment.
This is, I looked at
Waterloo
a copy
has one.
of this
Yeah.
enforcement order. This is just a
Oh,
copy,
yeah,
right?
I
It
know.
wasn't something you gave me to sign that I forgot.
No, no, that's why it says copy on
Pretty
it. I just
confined and.
figured if we wanted to get into a discussion on it, that
Yeah, yeah, okay, good.
you folks would all have it.
All right,
They have one of those.
this is the
a little.
It's possible.
8:15 item.
The guy that used to be a
Continued notice of intent for land off Daniels Road. I have a letter from Mr. John DeCoulis. Good afternoon, Brent, dated Tuesday, June 17th. Good afternoon, Brent. I will not be able to attend tonight's meeting of the Raleigh Conservation Commission. I will complete the response to Horsley-Witten review of May 12, 2014 within the next few days and deliver it to your office for submission. And also, I will respond to the plan issues you commented on at the May 17th meeting of the RCC, i.e. the dashed line on Lot 6 and others. Please continue the public hearing to your next meeting, July 8th, 2014.
Motion to continue?
Yeah, just, it's a good time to talk about quorums, though. Because it's summer. Is anybody, this one has such a long history.
Yeah, and I haven't had an opportunity to even do the attendance.
Do the attendance on it. Okay, is anybody going to be gone July 8th?
No, July 29th, I would be there.
Same here.
You won't be here on the 29th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I may not be here either.
On the
Well, then I
29th?
don't think, we not only won't have a quorum, we won't have a member. Be the
We'll
chairman.
have a-
Oh, I'll come then.
Yeah, be the chairman and the agent. Well, Judy might be here. All right, so that's a real red flag then. July 29th may not be possible if you two are sure you're not going to be here.
Yeah,
You're
I'm
both
sure.
on vacation.
Yeah, right.
And you may not be here.
And,
Well, the applicant's representative has the ability to finish things at our
Mhm.
July 8th meeting.
For this one, but let's
For
just keep
this
that
one, yeah,
in mind
yeah.
about the 29th. Okay, so is there a motion to continue the 8:15 item, the Daniels Road Notice of Intent?
So move.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and all against. So the public hearing is continued to July 8th, 2014.
A little landscaping project.
Brent, we don't have a memo on this next one, but you...
That is
you did-
correct.
You sent an email, didn't you? Didn't I see an email about it? Maybe it was...
I will be there.
You will?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't know, I've had some emails back and forth. Well, in this instance, I didn't. I figured it was pretty succinct enough, so we could just talk about it, and that is performed a site visit on the 12th of June, and I received both a monitoring report and a request from Mr. DeStefano's wetland scientist, Julie Van Drock, requesting that we close out the enforcement matter by the issuance of a return to compliance letter, which is how I've kind of copied DEP's policy on being able to produce a statement that basically says they took care of their obligations. The only thing that I discussed with Mr. DeStefano is the fact that deer go through his yard on a regular basis into the woods there, and they're nibbling on a lot of the saplings that were planted. As well as the reason for this picture is that you look real closely, you can see the bunny did a number on the bark on the lower part of that little planted shrub. So I asked him to consider putting some chicken wire around the saplings and the planted bushes that were still showing signs of life to give them a little chance to grow. He commented about how much he paid for them to begin with, and so that he certainly was interested in seeing them be protected. So he said he's amenable to doing that, so I would still suggest that the commission authorize me to write a letter that he's returned to compliance and satisfied his buffer zone restoration project. Now, he still has a stormwater permit. Just in yesterday's mail, I received a request for closing that, which we call a certificate of completion. Made arrangements. Again, Julie Van Drock, his consultant, supplied the information attesting to the completion. It was all grading and landscaping. There was no structural, no erection of any structures, no culvert pipes, nothing like that. So the commission in the past has waived the requirement for an as-built plan, and I would support that option in this situation because it was just, again, all grading. He just did this real big grading project because he's a landscaper himself and has the big equipment and wanted more backyard.
Likes to grade things.
Yeah, well, obviously, and if you recall, when he and his wife were in here,
Oh, I do.
they both admitted that they'd done way more than they really needed to.
That
So,
was a big backyard they've got there.
yeah, it was 30,000 square feet, and I guess it should have only been like a 15,000 square foot project.
What's
Which
the
wouldn't have
stockade
triggered us at all.
fence from? Is that delineation between, is there a lawn on the other side of that?
Well, that's the expanded backyard. He has at least one dog, if not two, I think, from the barking when I rang the doorbell. And so they have an enclosed area.
Keep the dog in.
Yeah,
So the reason we can't approve the stormwater letter now also, right?
no, actually, I haven't done the inspection because I hadn't received material.
Oh,
There's
okay.
also a fee that hasn't been paid.
Okay.
And also, I didn't have an opportunity to advertise it. So our normal policy, even though it's an administrative item, is to have it appear on the agenda.
Okay.
So
do that.
for those couple of reasons,
Okay.
and,
That doesn't-
you know, I had a discussion with him tonight. I told him, you know, that in regards to the enforcement order and the buffer zone restoration, I hope you agree, there doesn't seem to be any major concerns or any reason to, you know, it took him a little while longer than anticipated, but he did all the appropriate monitoring reports, and it's very lush. There's hardly any bare soil at all out there. You just need to curb the browsing of the deer a little bit to have the trees and saplings and the bushes survive.
All right, so I need a motion to issue a letter, a return to compliance letter.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All against, and the motion carries. Thank you.
Speaking of deer, I don't know whether any of you noticed, but on Central Street, you're heading out of town, just before you get to Lane Vaughn's and Stewart Lane, former people, there's a big house on the right, and to the west of that, there is a whole bunch of cylindrical evergreens, and they've all been eaten up to a height of 6 or 7 feet. And,
Oh,
and they've
next to the
turned
detached
green, so
garage.
they all like that.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
lots
saw
of like
the,
fencing
and I saw the
over
exact same thing at a different property in Ipswich over the weekend. No, it was in Newburyport, excuse me, it was on a garden tour. And they had the same tree, and it had been eaten exactly the same way. Apparently, that is a delicacy to the deer.
Evergreen?
Yeah, it's an evergreen,
Yeah,
which is
they're-
kind of
they're-
surprising. And it doesn't look like something they'd
Arborvitae.
like. Yeah. it's-
Oh,
that-
arborvitae, okay, yeah.
Well, very,
They love-
very
they
tall.
love-
We have them in our property. They've
Almost
always
as
go
much
after
as
it.
they love the euonymus. Euonymus citrus.
Yeah, they use it.
But they, yeah,
They eat those
I
up.
go by 2 or 3 of those places on
Yeah.
the way to work.
And this was apparently a year that they were especially tasty, because they do
Well,
love.
there wasn't that much food this year.
No, yeah. I noticed.
That when
Okay,
May we delve into the various administrative items,
Yes.
starting with,
status of the open
Bills.
space and recreation plan?
Well, no, I-
Run to bills first.
actually, may I do the bills and stuff first?
Yep.
So to start off with, I'll talk just briefly Meridian surveying and restaking of the Brad Street Farm. Meridian sent an invoice to me, which came out with the professional personnel totals of $1,299.50, where the estimate had been $1,200. And then what they call reimbursables, iron rods, mileage, and stakes of $56.93. So I contacted them to say that, I thought the $1,200 was the estimate on doing the work. We discussed specifically the items that needed to be done out there, and that's what was appropriated for the job, actually, thanks to Kurt Turner making a recommendation of adding $100 to the amount from the Conservation Land Fund. We actually are able to cover the $1,300. So I got a reply back that, well, it's time, blah, 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 blah. But basically asking, well, they were willing to write off the mileage, the iron rods, et cetera, the $56.93, but they really felt that the $1,299.50 was, what the job was worth to them.
That was the labor.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So we do have monies appropriated to do that, but now I don't have any monies to put in posting or anything. So, but we can deal with that.
Just out of curiosity, does the bill show an additional amount tacked into the subcategories for review by the principal?
No, it does not.
No, I don't think so. I talked to Brett about this last week.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is when they did some work for me years and years ago. That was an unexpected surprise at the end of the billing process.
It's like when the dentist says, review your chart, $34. Hey, I didn't see you.
So there's two. So there's two requests for. So that's the first one with the $500 coming from the CPC allocation, which was included with the appropriation for Mass Audubon's conservation restriction. So that's the first one. And for your initialing only is my markup of their invoice reflecting that $500 amount.
Field crew, senior project surveyor, senior project surveyor. Or might have been, might have been the principal. They probably
He's the owner.
Yep.
So here is the second portion of that, coming from the Conservation Land Fund, where the commission voted and appropriated $800, and that's for $799.50. And Doug, if you could initial this invoice, which is on the back of that.
Maybe they were listening to our meeting.
Yeah.
We can get $100. Oh, we can see that.
Okay, well, that's going around. Then Horsley and Witten would like to receive the final $800. That's the remaining balance for the technical review of Daniels Road. And Doug, this is the invoice for your initialing. And that's coming out of the technical consulting fund. Those were monies that Mr. Tompkins and Mr. Ducoulis had put in there.
He's in it too?
So I didn't eat me supper, so I'm hungry.
Everybody's in on that one.
And then if I may, Doug, this is a reimbursement for me for postage expense for the enforcement order sent to Mr. Sabatini. So that needs to circulate for more signatures. This is the copy of the invoice though for the initial purchase.
Isn't he supposed to be here today?
Does someone still have the, oh, okay.
Sorry, I was perusing it.
Yeah, I just wanna,
So it'll be the next
They're
one.
gonna get us, I think we give them till August 1st. So it won't even be the next one necessarily. Yeah, that's how that came up. Yes, personnel first, obviously.
Oh, all right, so it didn't happen during the meeting.
No, it did. We had a discussion. I asked him if he thought 3 weeks was enough, and he said August 1st might be better. And 3 weeks is not enough to hire, find, hire, and get a report from a
Yeah.
defense consultant.
and then finally, Doug, another request for reimbursement coming out of our expense line funds for ink cartridges. For me, I've been printing a lot of pictures, and that's the backup invoice for that. Thank you.
All those coupon discounts. Very frugal agent.
I'm trying, yes. I wish I didn't have to take so many pictures of violation sites.
They're good though. They help.
Yes, they do. I mean,
And it's
compared to what I found in the office when I came to work here and what I find now, I mean, I think we have very good, if I disappear tomorrow, you've got very good, clear documentation of the different site conditions.
Yep. And it's cheaper than developing prints. Put it that way. When we never used to do it.
Ever considered getting one of these GoPro cameras that you sort of wear as you go and walk around? And the headbands are used in sports a lot?
I'm not quite sure how that would fit into.
Might want to think about it. You get some spectacular. You can buy them for your car too, how the police catch all these wonderful trash.
I'm sure that would have come in handy in some past experiences that you've had.
Moving pictures of
When you were
me
trespassing.
falling in the Greenbrier or something.
Leaning against the post and having it collapse.
Fall over, yeah.
And making a note, post not adequate.
But a positive thing that I received just 45 minutes before the meeting tonight, and hurriedly filled out, is I'm possibly requesting Doug, if you could sign as my supervisor, to authorize the upcoming new budget year when I will receive a slight salary increase.
There you go. Congratulations.
Thank you. Nope, that's just yours. I didn't have to
I'm
submit.
just supervisor, right?
Debbie.
Yeah, I'm not,
Yeah.
Debbie's personnel officer, is that right?
Okay, that takes care of that batch of things.
Now, status reports.
Well, actually, it was requested, Arthur Page could not appear tonight. He had a conflict with Newberry, where he's doing a lot of work. They have health issues with beaver impoundments and flooding of roads, and he just couldn't get out of that meeting tonight, so he requested that I distribute this tonight. Hopefully could possibly anticipate his being able to attend our July 8th meeting. Also is on the backs is this may be duplicated, I can't remember, or I may not have handed this out, but it's his, skill set. Oh, I gave you the single-sided copy.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great if you can come to the next one.
Third generation of Pages, or
He's the-
the second?
This is the girl's father, right? Remember the rules with subdividing?
60 Redgate Road.
I think so.
Subdividing,
Yeah, yeah,
I'm sure it's not,
correct. No,
He's
this
the
is an Arthur
second-
Page Senior. This
He's the
is-
second Arthur Page, but they don't have the same exact name, so he's not a junior. I think is the way that works. But I suspect you're right, that he's the younger of the two Arthurs. Okay.
And we obviously didn't have anybody else in attendance at tonight's hearing.
How many applications do we have before?
As I understand it, we have two at this point, Mr. Page and Mr.
Vogel,
Mr. Vogel did come.
who
to
had,
see
yeah,
us, so he doesn't.
because he had come in early on.
Has he met with the selectmen?
No.
No, he has not. They were waiting for the other potential appointees to have met with the commission prior to them all meeting with the selectmen, so, oh shoot, Debbie asked me to ask you folks tonight. Well, since Mr. Page wasn't able to attend, Debbie was hoping, Debbie Egan, town administrator, was hoping to get some feedback from the commission in regards to the two active potential appointees at this point in time, but without Mr. Page being here tonight, you obviously can't interact with him, and therefore can't offer any type of opinion to the selectmen in that regards.
Well, the qualifications look appropriate.
Yeah.
And that's about all we can say at this point.
Yeah.
Well, unless we're in a huge rush, we'll just meet with him in the next meeting. We can also do
Right,
it.
yeah.
I know when I got on this commission, I met with one of the commission members, not the chair, and the agent. And they just came to my office because we couldn't find a time that worked for everybody. So they just came by. And we could do it that way. But I don't think
That's
we're...
true. Do you want me to offer? Let me find it.
No.
Let me relate to Debbie Egan, what transpired tonight with him not being able to come, and let me offer if that, if I can make those arrangements with either yourself or Commissioner Turner.
Right.
maybe.
Or both.
Yeah,
Because we all live and work locally.
right.
His house isn't far from my office, so, and neither of them are far from here, so.
Well, and he stopped in to see me and hand-delivered this first thing this morning, and we talked a little bit about the
Yep.
Institute for Savings and the Beaver Deceiver and the work
Right.
that we
Where is Brick End's Farm in Ipswich? Never heard of it. For the sale.
I thought that was the name of Patton's farm.
See the fellow that does most of the Beaver Deceiver work around here?
And
it says it.
I know he's been doing a fair amount. I really don't know what the volume is because he's been working in other towns and I have no knowledge of, Definitely because of tonight's conflict, he's potentially doing a fair amount in Newbury. He says they seem to have a much more,
Robust.
yeah, what's a good word for it?
Even in
Robust beaver activity that's threatening their roadway infrastructure. How's that?
Gets their attention.
As long as they don't relocate from the rail.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
No, they're having a bunch of
Some in the west or something, south.
Can't read it.
Go west, Beaver.
Shall we proceed to
Yes.
the other
So
item?
let's see, what else do we have here?
So I have a request from Essex County Greenbelt for the commission to sign an acknowledgement of receipt of the baseline report for the Rough Meadows Sanctuary, where the commission, on behalf of the town, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, and also Essex County Greenbelt co-hold the conservation restriction over Mass Audubon's Rough Meadows Wildlife Sanctuary. And I have reviewed the baseline report. I had some comments and suggestions. The document was, for a majority, was revised and adjusted based on my comments. So I can recommend to the commission that we consider signing this acknowledgement of the baseline report. Let's see. It says, the undersigned being the grantor under a conservation restriction granted to grantee with respect to land located Stackyard Road, Rowley, property dated 6/28/2012 and recorded in Southern Essex County Registry at Book 31473 at page 130, hereby certifies to the grantee that the accompanying baseline documentation report dated December 4th, 2012, which describes and documents the natural and other resources of the property sought to be protected by said conservation restriction, is an accurate representation of the property and its condition on the date hereof. The undersigned agrees, number one, condition of the property documented in said baseline documentation report may not necessarily represent the entire condition of the property. And number two, that the grantee does not in any manner waive any rights of its rights, either at law or in equity, to enforce provisions of said conservation restriction.
Gee, they can't even keep their own cows in their property. It's got nothing to do with this.
Okay. I don't think Mascout's got any cows.
Plus, the Globe article recently about how the cows got loose at Drummond Farm and wandered around. Headed for the railroad tracks, right out of town.
Which design it would be at the bottom there, Doug.
We're agreeing. I don't have any problem with that. Anyone else have any comments or concerns about it, or
Sounds good to me.
you read it and you're satisfied?
Yeah. Yeah, this was actually at the recommendation of the Department of Conservation and Recreation. They said that with a tri-party group of a conservation restriction, they wanted to make sure that there was some signed acknowledgement that we all looked at the baseline report and didn't have a problem with it, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring us to the OSRP.
Yeah.
OSRPU.
So on Monday at noontime, I placed in priority mail the Open Space and Recreation Plan update for 2014. And I apologize, but due to the timing, the copy of the letter, I did not have the opportunity to seek prior review and approval of you, but in my looking at most other open space and recreation plans, the Conservation Commission had usually been the author of one letter of support. So I hope you don't mind. I crafted this letter and included it.
That's fine. It's kind of trying to figure out why I'm writing a letter to myself.
Right. Well,
I
yeah.
kind of already know that.
Yeah.
Or receiving a letter from myself, even
Yeah.
that's okay.
That you didn't.
If it helps, it can't hurt. And,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
just
I-
glad we got it filed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we also received a letter from the Selectmen, a letter from the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission, letter from the Planning Board, and a letter from
We finally got
Parker
one from the
River
planning
Clean
board.
Water Association.
Finally got one from the planning board.
Yes, I kind of went after all of these.
Who signed it?
That's
what I'm claiming.
I just had it on the tip of my tongue, too.
Well, Kurt Baker actually signed it for Kurt Bryant.
Right.
Thank you.
Amnesia gas floating around tonight.
For whatever reason, I still have not received a letter from Mrs. Sandy. Contacted them, sent them a template and everything.
Did we ever get any comment letters from the public?
No, they did not.
Just the large crowd we had at the last meeting.
All of them.
Well, that's good. Got that off our desk and out of our town.
Right. Until it comes back with any comments from the state, but
Was that the whole thing, Brett? There are no more sections left to do?
No, it's the whole thing. We did it. It's done.
Complete.
As he says,
On
unless they
time,
didn't
right?
like it or have some criticism of it.
It was complete and met the deadline, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Well done.
Great.
Well done, Brent.
Yeah, great job, Brent.
And your assistant there who was pulling some weight, and your consultant, who definitely was a good
she's
idea.
now working on the land grant application, which may have been sent in today, or tomorrow today. So just on things just to report, more administrative things just to cover. We have 3 commissioners who are up for reappointment and have communicated their desire to be reappointed to the Board of Selectmen. And Vice Chairman Turner has signed a letter of support, which we turned into Honorable Chairman Mary of the Board of Selectmen, recommending their reappointments. Judy, Dave, and
That possibly go through tonight? Or your last night?
That's it.
I have no idea. I honestly don't know.
Might have, because
But I
it's
got-
pretty routine.
But I got that letter into them right, I guess, the morning, Monday morning, so they had it.
Well, thank you for drafting that, full draft.
Well,
Just remind me, assuming they choose to reappoint us, do we have to go down there and accept the appointment? I forgot.
You have to go in and be sworn in by the
That's what
town
I
clerk,
thought, yeah,
yes.
town clerk.
Yeah, because you get sworn in for
Mhm.
starting date of the appointment and an ending date.
Yes, okay.
Clock always gone.
So,
Clock always rings.
Always rain? Yeah.
Never did it.
Windows aren't usually this open.
I
And the windows
Yeah,
are
they're
open.
close
usually.
enough.
That's right.
a few days ago, I don't remember which, but it was the same day, the selectmen requested that I go in and verify whether their request to have the private property no trespassing sign removed out of the town's right-of-way. I discovered that without getting any prior notification, that water lines has been put in down the road, down the driveway, adjacent to our forested wetlands area, and then going across the right-of-way in front of the affordable housing parcel and into the community garden area. Looks like an inch and a half
Did
to,
that?
apparently. Yep.
Probably assume
I,
that the right is.
We had been asked for permission to allow that to happen by Mr. Pasenka. When we were asked, I asked Mr. Pasenka, or actually told him, that we wished to be notified when the work was done. Because there's one picture there that halfway down the driveway, apparently there was some kind of issue. There's all of a sudden this big sort of depression of disturbed dirt where otherwise there's just this linear track which you normally expect with a ditch witch. So I don't know if they ran into a rock or something and tipped over or what.
Must have been.
You know, that's all it takes, and for a ditch witch, and then the track comes undone, and
Yeah.
it creates a mess, and they have to repair it.
Yeah, but there's some kind of faux pas
I thought
halfway
that
down the
just happened to
driveway.
me.
Huh?
I thought that just happened to me.
Well, no, it's a common occurrence.
It is, okay, well, it makes me feel better.
Other than that, both ends are still open.
Yeah, spreads.
But other than that, except for that little apparently scuffle halfway down the driveway, there
Lots
doesn't
of people
appear
probably
to be
have
any
been
issue.
diligently planting their community gardens and
Well, I'm hoping for water.
Can't count on rain forever.
No backflow for better.
Okay.
It's just, oh yeah, it's open, it's running, but there's no backflow prevention, at least at this end. But the water department curious about that.
Well, they installed
They
it.
installed it,
Oh, they did?
yeah,
Oh, maybe the
That's
backflow's
what I
back at the hydrant then.
probably. That's logical.
Just- I hope so.
Maybe not.
How does the town water ban apply to like that?
Well, if you could just gently remind Mr. Plasenka that advance notice of digging holes in resource areas is appreciated. Maybe next time.
So then also, good news is that yesterday, Mass Audubon submitted the conservation restriction to the state for their review. So that was also something that needed to be done prior to the submittal of the land grant application. Its deadline is tomorrow, so those two pieces that the commission had involvement with, that and the open space and recreation plan, those have been done in a timely manner.
Great.
So, actually, that's it.
That's it.
Did you get to go to over Bay State Glass?
No.
Ipswich Bay Glass, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what's very nice. Well, actually, we just had, actually Sandy Petrovan came in yesterday, and I was talking to him about that. And then he emailed me later on in the day to tell me that they've had issues with intruders in their backyard over there, so so he just requested that I give him a call ahead of time.
Because they now shoot them on site, huh?
Yeah, I'm not, he didn't exactly explain, but I sent an email jokingly back to him, yeah, so I'm gonna get dragged off by your security because I wanna work at your detention basin, right?
Don't worry, they normally shoot high the first time.
Warning shot.
I'm concerned about what's going on over on that property, and,
You mean on the 3 lots that?
Well, he
No,
says he's
or you
been,
mean,
no,
you
directly
don't mean
behind
that?
my house, back in the woods, at least it sounds like it. There's been an enormous amount of
Chainsaw.
machines and chainsawing, and I don't know whether it's the guy, the sole remaining property owner back in there, or whether it's trucks beeping and backing up all the time. I don't know how close they are to Bashel the Brook over there. But anyway, while you're there, I suggested
yeah.
that just go back there and check.
See how close you can get.
Make sure you where you.
Where's the,
on
there's trucks in
Orange.
there, where do they get in?
To Bay State, you're not coming up the driveway.
They're not.
No. I've hit them, but.
Well, you have to remember the
beeping.
back of the development where the additions are proposed, and he typically has been parking a lot of his trailers and would obviously have to back up to each one of them to connect to. That's kind of high up, so you're possibly up above the elevation of the brook and stuff, so maybe you're hearing the sound transmitting to you a little easier because it's sort of up above the ground.
It's possible, there's heavy woods in there, but,
Well, it
the
slopes down a lot.
Chainsawing went on weekends and
Yeah, that sounds more like
late evenings.
Mr. Graham, maybe the
I don't
remaining
know.
single-family homeowner in somewhere.
Hard to say.
Speculate.
Okay. So anything else? No.
3 lots, I understand, sold for $500 apiece.
Seems high.
That's according to the neighbor across the street.
Well, that's what was in the newspaper.
Yeah, that's what
Just-
Berry said, so.
I kind of took it as meaning that for all 3 or something like that.
I did too.
Because I can't imagine,
Going rate for a nice lot is more around 200, so who would pay
yeah,
500? They're nice.
the going rate
Enough,
for a
but-
standard lot's about 170,
Yeah,
about 200 or something.
depending on how much site work's been done. And there's been a lot of site work at those, so it might be on the high end.
Yeah,
There's sort of turnkey lots, you could build on them as soon as you get the
Right,
signatures.
yeah, the driveway's all. Well, they have to come before us
Gotta
for
do
stormwater.
But still, that's about it, and, but still, that's not gonna be 500,000.
Might want to remind Sandy of that one. Well,
You reminded the buyers of that, because they approached us, they approached Brent, the M&R Construction or whoever it is that
Yeah,
bought them.
AG, I think,
Yeah.
AG Construction.
They bought all three, and I'm sure they're
Yeah.
gonna build all three houses at once, which is more efficient for them.
Yeah.
So,
Who is AG, where do they work?
where were they from?
Reading, I
Not really close to here, I think Reading.
Yeah, I think it was
maybe
Reading.
Wakefield or one of those.
Yeah, I've got his calling card right because we've had a couple of conversations. Meridian's working on their stormwater management permit. And I was talking with Charlie about that today too, because there's some considerations in it. It's, you know, because the planning board already approved and issued them a special permit, they're sort of, I believe they can take advantage of that permitting track where they don't have to pay the application fee because they've already had everything reviewed through the planning board process. The only thing is that they're gonna have to have some type of, what the BMPs are they're using. We never ever saw the actual design for the houses. We just saw the driveway coming out,
Right.
the common driveway and stopping, just as it started up the hill.
Right.
And I think almost all the development of these lots is outside the 100-foot buffer zone, so therefore there's no wetlands permitting involved at all.
That's what I remember, is that the road was all in the
Yeah.
wetlands, but the house lots were not.
Yeah.
So we have some new neighbors, sort of.
I can live with that.
Call them neighbors.
If the beeping bothers me, it's gonna bother them a lot more.
All right, if there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn? And a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries.